Hi, I'm State Senator Jamie Eldridge, and welcome to another edition of Uplifting Voices, my opportunity to meet with new elected officials, new community leaders, and learn about their work, why they are involved in public service, and learn about some of the issues that they're focused on. So, very pleased today to have on my show Representative Rita Mendes, the new state representative for the 11th Plymouth District. Is that it?
Yes, Brockton.
Yes, from Brockton. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. And thank you so much for coming on to Uplifting Voices. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to be out there and talking to the community, and especially with you, Senator, because when I was running, you were one of the first faces that I met at the Brazilian Gala, and it was really
Yes.
inspiring. So you helped me a lot without knowing, so I appreciate
Oh,
you.
thank you. Well, yeah, I remember that. And that was probably, over a year ago, I think at the Brazilian Times Gala, I think.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
And that's when we met and learned that you were running for state representative.
Yes.
But I know that you have, previously you served as a city councilor for Brockton, right?
So I'm still a city
Oh,
councilor.
still a city councilor. Wow, so you're doing both jobs. Okay.
Just finishing up my term this
Okay.
year, and Brockton is going through their local elections and
Oh, right.
to choose the new councilors. So this is my final year, and then in January I will pass on the baton, and
Okay.
it will be just as a state representative. But I enjoy doing both work, and
Yeah.
looking forward to be full-time just as a state representative, because there's so much work that we can do in the state level.
Yes.
And leave the local level in a capable hands, and then continue to work together with the mayor and local officials.
That's
but
great.
It's nice coming from the local and engaging in this new level of leadership. That way I know the things that work and doesn't really work in a local level, the needs
Sure.
of the city, and I'm able to advocate better for my city. So
Absolutely. And so I just speaking to that, how are things going in Brockton? What are the needs of Brockton? I watch some of your
Yes.
social media videos, which are great, but I don't read as much about Brockton because my district is more Metro West. So how are things going in Brockton?
yes, as you can imagine, a gateway city, Brockton, we have a lot of needs. But I would say the number one right now, and that I'm assuming that everybody knows, is the school committee and the school budget, the
Yes.
huge deficit that we're
I know.
going through.
Yep.
So that is very unfortunate that our kids are having to go through that with the new school year and a $14.4 million deficit.
Yeah, quite a
It
shock, right? Yeah.
really is. And we know we've already had a huge layoff starting of the new school year. So this is most likely going to lead to more layoffs.
So there already were layoffs, and now there will likely be more. Oh my
Correct.
goodness. Yeah.
Because going into the new fiscal year, it was going to be an $18 million deficit. So we had to lay off approximately 130 teachers because of that deficit. And the problem is that when we're laying off teachers, we are most likely laying off teachers of color, because
Okay.
they are the ones that were last hired.
Sure.
And the
right.
seniority that we have, it's most likely, so that really causes our students to be in a huge disadvantage, because
Sure.
it's important for them to be, Brockton's a huge population, and majority of our city, the population is people of color.
So it is majority now. Yep.
It
okay.
really is.
Yep.
And the fact that the teachers that really represent the community, that speak the language, they are the first ones out the door. So it's a huge problem for our kids. And I've been doing a lot of tours in our schools, and I talk to the students and the kids. And then when they hear my story, that I arrived here just like them, without
Sure.
speaking the language,
Yep.
going to public education, graduating Brockton High School, and today I'm an attorney, city councilor, and a
Right,
state
right.
representative. They can't believe that I actually speak another language at home. Sometimes they even ask me to speak to them in Portuguese so they can see that it's legit, that
Right,
I'm
it's
actually
real, right.
just like them, because they're like, this can't be, like, how were you able to make it? So that's the importance when kids see someone like them being able to achieve things here in America. They know that the American dream is for them as well. So that's a huge, I would say, by far the number one issue
Absolutely.
in the city. Yes.
And even though, I mean, we passed the Promise Act, there was a previous session, so Brockton did get a lot more state aid, but even with that state aid, there are layoffs already. That's really troubling.
There's definitely outside audits that it's been implemented, but that takes more than a year to be completed. So obviously there's going to be dark times coming, because until we find out exactly what happened, what went wrong, we really just don't know.
Right.
And,
okay.
and it's just sad. But I'm there, making myself available, and I'm sure here at the state level, the senator from Brockton, Mike Brady,
Oh, sure.
and
Yep.
the other delegation that we have, the other state representative, which is Jerry Cassidy, Michelle Dubois, and myself. We're going to be meeting with the mayor and meeting with the local officials and see what we can do in the state level. But it's just something that we're all going to have to come together as a city and get through these times.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so talking about you arriving, did you from Brazil, you came right to Brockton, or did you come somewhere else in the U.S.?
Yes. So I came to the United States when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Didn't know any English, and I actually went to Weymouth Middle School.
Oh, okay.
And I was the only person in that school that didn't speak any English.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very hard for me, just really having to learn the language. I was the only one that looked different, and everybody else. So it was a shock, and I did not know if I was going to be able to make it. And then eventually I came to Brockton in my high school year.
Okay.
And I felt more at home, because obviously Brockton, the community looks more like me.
More
and
diverse,
then
right.
I was engaged with their bilingual system, even though I didn't need to be in a bilingual program anymore, because at that time I knew English.
Sure, sure.
But it was still impressive to see how much more advanced and prepared they were to work with kids that didn't speak English. So it was impressive to see. And I graduated from Brockton High School, then I went to Massasoit. Then from Massasoit,
Right, you recently gave a commencement speech, right?
I
yes,
did.
Yes, I saw
and
that.
And the interesting part of it, I missed my graduation at Massasoit.
That's right, in your speech, that's right.
Because I was at the hospital having my son, and it was on his birthday when he turned 17 that we went back to Massasoit. They gave me my diploma, and it was like his birthday. It was really a full circle.
That's wonderful.
That was amazing, yes.
That's great. That's great.
Yes.
And so, when you arrived in Massachusetts, did you already have an interest in public service, or how did you get that interest to be involved in social justice and helping others and eventually becoming a public servant?
That's the other thing that I really am impressed with you as well, because I know that you invested in another Brazilian that became the first representative,
That's right,
which
Danilo.
is
That's
Danilo
right, yeah.
Senna, and I know you're his mentor, and you're really inspiration to him. So I had my mentor too,
Good.
which also is the one that saw something in me that I didn't see it in myself. Never in a million years, if you told me that I was going to go to public service, I would say you're crazy, because I'm very shy, introvert. I'm really not the type of person that you would think. But I went, when I was in law school, I went to as an intern to work at his law office, and then after, when I became an attorney, passed the bar, he helped me get started with my practice. So I do immigration law. And through the years, he saw how I was growing in my professional life, how I genuinely care for my clients and for the people that walked in and for my community. And then a seat opened up in the city council. And he was like, "You're going to run for city councilor." And I had no idea what that all entailed. And I pulled papers, collected signatures, really started not knowing anything. But it was just grassroots, door knocking, listening to the community, listening to people. And the first time that I ran, people kept on saying that I was just getting my feet wet because no one knew who I was. And I was like, yeah, I don't really have that expression. In Brazil, in Portuguese, when we put our name to something, I work hard. Whatever the results is, doesn't matter, but I'm going to give my best. Because I feel that my city deserves the best of me, not getting feet wet. So got elected the first time. And then on my first re-election for council at large, I topped the ballot, was the highest vote getter in the city. Yes, and then a seat opened up as a state representative because our ambassador, Claire Cronin, went to Ireland.
Yep, yeah, she and I co-chaired the Judiciary Committee for
Yes.
about a term. Yep.
Exactly. So I ran for that and the got elected. So I can't even believe that it's impressive to believe that I came to this building when I was in school, just doing tour,
Okay,
but I had
yeah.
no idea.
That you would serve here, right?
No, never in a million years. If you told me I would, I still a lot of times. So I know the responsibility that I carry, because with this trust, it comes a lot of responsibility. A lot of these unheard voices that put their trust and faith on me. So I know that I have to be here to make a difference for all voices in my city, but especially the ones that are not always represented.
Right, absolutely.
And I do know that there's a lot more work that we can be doing to ensure that equity, to ensure that all voices are heard, and especially coming from that immigration background and how we can help our community better. So we're just beginning, and I'm excited for all the great things that we can still continue to do in this building. I love all the rallies. I really think it's amazing when the community and the people, they come and they make their voices heard. I love when they get arrested, because they're getting arrested for their cause and for what they believe in, and you know that they want to get arrested. I'm just amazed. I love everything.
No, you seem like you're. I mean, you've always been a hard worker. You know, have a record on a city councilor. How has your first term as a state representative been? How have you enjoyed the state house, which has its peculiarities and nuances to learn?
Yes, it amazes me, the hearings, how much people open up to you.
Yes, and we serve in the Judiciary Committee together.
We do, and it's a very tough committee to be a part of, because people, they really pour out their personal, intimate, their lives. This just past hearing, we didn't have it recorded because there was so personal information that we didn't want it on the record. So they trust us with that level of information, but we better be hearing them, and we better really look at these bills and see if we can truly help them by changing what needs to be changed in the law. So that to me is, it always shows me the level of responsibility that they are spending all day. They'll come from very far places, so they can be before us for just 3 minutes to speak and tell us their case and tell us why it would dramatically change their lives. And that is so powerful. I don't think people really think about that responsibility that we carry. So I just think it's amazing. It's democracy in action.
Yeah.
And then how we make our laws, how we make it better, how we change things and make it a better society for everybody. So I love my committees, and the hearings by far are the best part.
Yeah. And what other committees do you serve on?
Children's, families, and persons with disabilities, which is also...
That's another important committee,
Yes, very important committee as well. And then state assets. And the other one that I know everything about is advanced technology, IT, and cybersecurity, which my son asks me. It's like, do they know what you're doing? Do they know I do all your social media?
Same applies to me with some of my younger staff. Yep.
Yes. But it's just all eye-opening how much that we learn in this place every single day.
Yes.
And you can never really predict your day like normal job.
Every day is different, right?
You just predict that you have your calendar and you go through your day, and it's just, this is never boring.
Yeah, exactly. Every day is different.
It changes, and you start one way, and then by the time you end, it's like, what just happened?
Right, right, and then planning for the next day or the next week. Yep, exactly.
You're planning for your week, and you're planning for the next day, and then you're meeting with the community, and you're going to these meetings. I'm very active in my community. I show up to everything. I'm at their events, so I'm very accessible. I have lots of office hours during the month, so I try to make myself always accessible to the community, and they call me. We had a very important issue that I had to resolve this past Friday at my community, which the senior from the high rise, they were all calling me complaining that the washer machine and the dryer was not working. So I show up and they updated to the QR code, and they had no idea what the QR code was. So.
Oh, wow. So that level of constituent services, that's impressive.
They call me because I am the person that they know. I'm the one
Right.
showing up in their buildings and talking to them. I can speak their language, so it makes a difference. So my aide is translating with Google Translate, and I'm like, let's just go see what is going on with the washer and the dryer. And I show up, it's a QR code in it. So yes, because I'm still a city councilor, so
exactly.
I can't really just say call your counselor. So I'll go as well as I'll show up whenever they need. I'll show up, because I think it's important for them to know that they can call me and that I will be there to show up and help them in any way that I can. So
absolutely, and I think you'll find that as your career continues, is that even though we are state legislators, we still will get those calls, very local, very specific, that they expect us to solve. Yep. So that's not going to end, even though we work on state issues as well.
Yes, yes. I presume, yes, absolutely. But I enjoy every minute of it. It's serving the community. That's what I chose to do. Obviously, I would make a lot more money being an attorney, focusing on my practice, but I chose to really serve my community. So I should do it with all my heart and with everything. So I really enjoy it.
That's great. That's great. And in terms of the community, and it is a diverse community, as I've worked very closely with one of your colleagues, Representative Michelle Dubois, on environmental justice. So we passed that as part of the 2020 roadmap law to strengthen protections for environmental justice communities, which are in Brockton. Is that something that you're seeing continued in Brockton as far as energy issues, unfortunate issues where often companies or trash companies or incinerators often target poor, sometimes communities of color?
Yes, that is something that we've seen, and we try to fight, because we know that the moment that they come and they open it up, then that's the end of it. But Representative Michelle Dubois, she does fights very hard, and she does not play, and she's not there to please anybody or businesses. She'll pick up her fights, and it's nice when we know we have someone that we can go to that knows so much about the issues and cares so much, because I believe she has asthma, and there's a big issue in Brockton with asthma is a highest number in our kids. So she knows it from her personal level how important it is, and it's nice that we know I have a partner, for someone that I can always go to, and we'll be there in the front lines fighting, not to please anybody, but really protect our city and making sure that we're not just dumping everything in the city of Brockton. So when you see these EV chargers, we're trying to electric, and we're trying to modernize things and making sure we're environment friendly. It's something that was so far behind that we need to continue on and invest in our city more. And that type of investment costs money, and we need help at the state level, federal level, but we need to really making sure that we're not forgetting and letting our city, just making sure that we're clean air and clean city. And people always complain in the city of Brockton that they want a place that is clean, they want a green space for their kids.
Oh, yeah.
We're always focusing on building, but we need to remember the developers that green space is important.
Exactly, for all new developments. Yep.
Exactly, because if you slip on that, then once it's gone, you can't take it back.
Exactly.
So when the permit process comes, that's also in the local level what we do. I'll go to these hearings and talk about these things. That's what people want to know, because you're putting less and less parking spaces, so we know it's going to be a lot of cars on the streets, because these cars are not going to have any place to park in these huge complexes. There's no green space, so this is what the community is saying that they want to see.
Sure. Yes. So is there a lot of housing development in Brockton happening?
Absolutely.
There is. Okay.
Huge.
Is it market rate, affordable, both?
we at this point, I would say market rate.
Okay.
And Brockton does have affordable housing, but
Yes.
I feel that we always need more affordable housing.
Right.
There's such a need statewide, and we see people from Brockton, the communities that are mostly hit, they are moving to even Rhode Island, Pawtucket.
Yeah. They can't afford Brockton. They're moving moving south.
They're definitely moving. A lot of times, if they can't stay in Massachusetts, they'll go to New Bedford or Taunton, Fall River. Other times, they're just moving out of state completely.
Yeah.
And we see that happening as I go on one term door knocking. The next time when I come back, those families have already with kids. So you see, it's a huge problem that people still can't afford to live in the city that they've lived there all their lives. Now they're feeling that they have to move out because it's just gotten so expensive.
And I have
you
to say
wouldn't think Brockton was going to be this expensive.
I was going to say that's so concerning, because I will say, you know, for a lot of Massachusetts residents who aren't from Brockton or that area, or even legislators, I think naturally think that even a lot of market rate housing in Brockton would be affordable. But what you're saying is that's not the case.
No.
Yeah, yeah. And is there efforts to build some affordable housing in Brockton, or?
Yes, we're always trying to encourage people to build, continue to build the affordable housing. We just have a development for affordable housing for the seniors.
Oh, good,
Because
good.
that's also a huge, huge need, especially the seniors, because when they come and they have to move out of the city because they can't find a place affordable for them to live in the city where they've lived all their lives, in that age, for them to move, it's really more impactful. So they want to be in their community. They want to be close to their family. They want to be close to their grandchildren. So
right, they've given their lives. They've contributed to the city. Yep, they want to stay there. Absolutely. How about economic development or job creation for the region? Is that a challenge in that part of Massachusetts?
Yes, that's always something that we're looking to, making sure that people, they don't really have to come to Boston in order to be able to work.
Right.
So for our own jobs that we open up in the local level, it's the residency requirement. So it's for the people that live in the city of Brockton. But a lot of
city
times,
jobs.
Yes,
Okay.
the city jobs, they have to hire from the city of Brockton. And if we have developments, we'll ask them to making sure that they'll hire from union people that are also from the city, that the residents live in the city. So we'll put these, because we have a lot of developments going on in these big projects. So we want to make sure that our residents will get the opportunity to be working in those projects, and we always ask them, the companies and the developers, to do that. But there's always a need for more jobs. And what we've seen is usually people will come to Boston because it pays higher money. And will work out of the city, but that becomes a problem too. So we need to making sure that people can work and live in the city of Brockton. And a lot of times, even for the city jobs, the beginners pay, the entry level is like $30,000 per year, $40,000, and what you pay for rent.
You can't live on that in Massachusetts. Yep, exactly.
So that's the problem too. We want people to live in the city. We want people from the city to apply for these jobs, but if they take these jobs, they can't even afford the housing. The place to live. The most basic needs, not even. So there's a problem there. The whole structure that we need to, making sure that the people can afford to live where they work.
Exactly. And so obviously now, as a state legislator, are there particular bills or particular issues that you're focused on, whether on your committee or just in general, that you'd like to see the legislature pass this session?
Yes, so I am working on the legislation to allow the teachers' diversity in our school.
Great.
So instead of being the seniority, the people that first in and first one's out, the last one's in, the first one, however the seniority works, This would allow the superintendent to look at other criteria when they have
Okay.
to lay off teachers, because I know that cities like Brockton, unfortunately, we don't like talking about layoffs, but they do happen.
Yeah.
And then that allows, if a teacher speaks another language and it's from the community that it's highly represented in the student body, it allows the superintendent to look at other things and make a decision determination based on that when the difficult time to lay off teachers come. So that is an important bill that I've testified on.
Sure.
And we're working to see if we can change that formula to allow the amazing teachers that we have that are working so hard to go and teach our kids. They're not just the first ones out the door when these times come. And also another bill that we're working on is for professional licensing, to allow people that maybe they don't have their social security number yet, but to be able to go to the trainings and be able to obtain their professional license.
Oh,
whether
absolutely,
it's plumber, whether it's an attorney, whether it's electrician,
medical professionals.
medicals.
I hear from so many in my district, you know, Brazilian professionals, you know, dentists, doctors, and yet they can't practice here right now.
Because they can't get their professional license.
Right.
So that is also another bill that I filed with Representative Paulino, and we're working on it to making sure that we're able to allow people to go through the trainings, pass the exam, and be able to obtain their license, because we have so many people that are so talented, and they come from these countries, they're trained, that's what they've done their entire lives, and they're painting houses, they're working.
And Massachusetts is desperately in need of all these workers. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So definitely, and the other one that I've also am working on is the community college. So I've started with Massasoit to make Massasoit free of charge for all our Brockton kids, because we wanted to keep on encouraging our kids, especially from gateway cities, to be able to attend the community college. That's how I
right, exactly.
how I did it. And look where I am today. So I do know what the potential is for education, and we need to make sure we're empowering our students to continue on their education, so they know that they can get ahead in life. So I'm super happy that we passed from 25 and over.
Right, that first phase around debt-free college. Yep.
But community college should just be free.
Exactly.
Statewide. But I've started with Massasoit, but I'm really looking towards the day that we can celebrate it just being free, and beyond the state colleges, that we should be able to just making sure that we're not passing on the burden to the students. And they're paying huge tuitions amount to even be able to attend community college.
Exactly.
Because I went to UMass Dartmouth, and I still have student loans and all. So I know the entire process and how it is. Very difficult time in my life, and being able to attend school is already hard, because if you're in that situation in your life, you need to work in order to be able to survive.
Yeah.
And when you know you have that burden that you're carrying on the loans, and you have to make that decision in your life, a lot of times you're going to just end up quitting your school, quitting your dream.
Exactly, or taking longer to finish
much
your
longer.
degrees.
I took forever.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's an unfair burden, and I will say, you know, yesterday the Joint Committee on Higher Education heard a number of bills, including just the bill I filed around debt-free college, but also the Cherish Act for statewide. But a lot of the comments is that there weren't a lot of college students there, in part because right now so many of them, perhaps similar to yourself, are also working, you know, also, you know, have a family, et cetera. And so then it's hard to focus in on testifying on a bill or advocating for legislation if your life is pretty overwhelming.
And that's the thing, when I was going through my education career, when I was in college and I was working, I worked at Dunkin' Donuts until like 11 o'clock midnight, and you're going to school and you have a kid and you're just trying to survive in life. I had no idea that these conversations were happening. I was just focusing on surviving that day, on surviving that week, on making sure that I was being able to put food on the table, the very basic things of life. And when your mind is so worried about these everyday basic essentials, unfortunately, the people that need to speak up, it has to be us, the legislators and other community activists and other people that are talking to these students and know that this is a fact, that this is happening, and that we can do something to help them, and we should.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why it's just so great to have you in this position, you know, with your experiences, with the challenges and your successes, to fight for so many people in Brockton, really across the state. So that's very important.
During these hearings, really, I've had somebody from Brockton come and testify, but I do know that the issues, the things that they're talking about is the same thing that my community, the people in Brockton, are facing the same struggles.
Yep.
So I know the community, I know that that is what they're going through. So that's why it's important for people to come and testify, but unfortunately, the ones that usually needs the most, the one that would benefit the most, they're the ones that can't take a day off from work to come to the State House and testify for 3 minutes. They really are worried about just surviving.
Exactly. I know. Well, thank you so much for coming on Uplifting Voices. I just such a fan of you. You're doing terrific work, and so proud of you and so impressed by your success story of getting to where you are today.
And thank you for everything that you do. I really enjoy speaking with you. I know that you love the Brazilian community.
Yes.
You're very famous in the Brazilian, that everyone knows you. They have no idea who I am.
That'll change quickly. Yep.
But it's really nice to know that I have a partner, someone that
Yes.
I can always come and will be a great mentor. And I encourage you to please guide me when you see that
Yes,
we can
absolutely.
do
There's
great
so much
work
to learn.
together. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you for everything. It's a
Thank you so
pleasure.
much, Representative. So thank you for those that tuned into this edition of Uplifting Voices, and stay tuned for future interviews. And thanks for joining us today.